Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we are going to paint our acorn, and I'm going to teach you how to get a shadowed side and a lighter side, and then I'm going to show you how to do the texture for the top of the acorn. So, you're going to have the same colors that you had last time, but I've added a gold, a yellow, and a lighter brown. So let me show you how you're going to get started. I'm going to put this one to the side, and what we want to do, we are going to use one brush, just a kind of a medium-sized brush. And you're going to start with orange. I know that that's a little odd, but we're starting with orange because an acorn is kind of an auburn color, okay? So it's not necessarily just brown. It kind of has an orange tint to it. So we're going to start with orange. We're going to paint the whole bottom half of the acorn orange. We're not worried about the top or the stem yet. So we're just going to get in here and think about, like you wouldn't just want to paint like this. That's not going to look right, okay? So you want to paint in smooth strokes that kind of go along with the curve of the acorn. So when I'm painting over here, I'm going to curve my paint just like the curve of the acorn, okay? Now, I'm going to add some brown, and I can add the dark or the light. I think I'm going to start adding the dark first, but I'm just going to mix that in with my orange. And again, I'm brushing up and down. Looks a little streaky, but I'm going to smooth it out by brushing it up and down. And then what I want to do is I want to work on the light side first, because once I start working on the dark side, it will be, the dark colors will get into my light colors. So I don't want to start with the dark side. I want to start with my light side. So in my light side, you can pick the right or the left, but pick one side. You can add yellow, you can add white, you can add gold. You can just experiment with the colors and see what you like. So I'm just adding a little bit of gold. I think that looks pretty cool. And I'm only going to paint on the right side now, okay? So just from like the right to the middle, I might add some yellow. See what that looks like. And remember, when we did the background, we talked about the word painterly. So I tried to make my base color smooth, but now that I'm getting my light colors, I'm more painterly. That means I can see the brush strokes a little bit better. Okay, so I'm not trying to necessarily smooth it out. So now that I have my light side finished, remember, we're not using water. So I'm going to use my baby wipe and just wipe my brush off a little bit. And I might get that brown back in here and just blend it back in to my light side. Okay, add a little bit more brown to the middle. And then as I move over here to the left side, I'm going to add black. I don't want to add the black until I'm done with my other area, okay? I can add more black at the top, and I'm going to add that black all the way to the edge, and I'm just going to kind of like let that blend in, okay? If I think it's too much, I can add some brown. I can blend it right here where the black and brown meet, okay, if I want it to be smoother, or I could let it be more painterly. I'm going to get that little part in the middle, and then if I want to go back to the middle, I can always wipe my brush off on my baby wipe, and get a clean brush and just blend it a little bit, okay? Another good place that you can wipe your brush off while you're working on your acorn is the top. But when we add color to the top, we are going to just tap our brush. That's going to give us this texture, okay? So I'm going to start with maybe this light brown. The top is a little bit lighter on an acorn. So I'm just going to tap it in there. And since I want it to be lighter, I'm going to add some white. I could add yellow. I'm looking for just my lighter colors. I could add gold. And I can paint in the stem with some of the color that is on my brush, just being very careful so that that black outline shows up. And I'm just going to keep tapping the brush down to add the texture in the top. I might add some yellow. Now look, I'm getting just a tiny amount of paint. If I get too much, it will affect this. So just, be careful. Now, you can also add some black to add some contrast, or you could add, like I could add the dark brown. So once you kind of get the colors that you like, you can add a little bit of a darker color, but you want to let it show up, okay? So I'm not trying to let this darker color blend in. I'm trying to let that texture really show up. So I'm not pressing down real hard. I just really want to let this show up. All right. Now, this paint would have to dry, but that's about it for what I'm going to do. I could also go in and add the black outline back if I wanted to. So I could wipe the paint off my brush. Now there's a lot of white on my brush, so if I get black on my brush, that's going to make gray. Okay, so I want to wipe most of that off. You don't have a small brush, so if I wanted to add the outline, I wouldn't want to press this down and make too thick of an outline. I would want to use the edge. So think about how you're using your brush to make sure that you don't get too thick of an outline. I'm just going to curve that line, and then I'm just going to finish it up. So add a little bit more dark in here. And I might get the black off my brush. Remember, use your baby wipe for this. And maybe I'm going to get just a little bit more highlight here. Okay? So one side should be light. One side should be dark. That's important. Now, if you did not finish your background, you may also finish your background. I noticed last week several people kind of painted a lot of orange or brown in the bottom, and then in the top they painted blue, like it was the sky and the ground. You can do it that way if you want, but really, I just wanted you to get kind of a blended blue color all around. So you just kind of decide, but remember, we're talking about painterly brush strokes. So if I wanted to just add, my paint's dry, so if I wanted to just add some darker blue to really make everything stand out and be complementary, orange and blue are complementary, then I could do that. Just adding some brush strokes, just finishing my picture. So once you are done with your acorn, you're going to finish your picture off by finishing the background. If you like your background from last week and you don't want to add any more to it, you don't have to. But now I'm totally done, and someone from Green Table will pick this up at the end of class, take it to the drying rack. Someone from Yellow Table will make sure that your brushes are clean, but when you're finished, your job is to make sure that you wipe off your brush, put it back into the little round caddy. Remember, we want the bristles to stick up. I don't have a caddy with me right here, but we would want the bristles to stick up and the handle down in the bottom, like this, okay? Throw your baby wipe away, and your only job when it's time to clean up is take care of your brush, wipe your table if you need to, close your paint tray, and if you sit at Green Table, your job is to put the art on the drying rack. All right, have fun.